Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Hocus Pocus and welcome to another building tutorial video. So before we continue today, I've got a little bit of news for you guys that aren't new to the channel. We're using a skin and it is the skin that K9 made for us. I was going to do a vote, but I just decided that this one was my favorite. And that's no disrespect to the rest of the skins that you guys made me, but I really do like this one. So I think from this point onwards, we're going to use the skin that K9 made for us. It fits in well with the theme of the channel and also our logo. And without further ado, I think we should just jump into the video because that is slightly besides the point. So today we're going to focus on how to build floors in Minecraft. So I've got 3 7x7 areas dug out here and we're going to be building our floors inside of them. So what we're going to do is begin with a base layer, and for this first floor we're going to begin with a base layer of cobblestone. Now cobblestone is a texture that you'll be able to find very easily in the world. You just need to use a pickaxe on stone to grab it, so it's fairly accessible to everybody in the game. And then once you have your base layer of cobblestone down, you will need to, step by step, I will show you in just a second, add a few extra details to it, just to give it some extra difference, texture, that kind of thing. You just want to mix and match, and as I say, I will show you how you can go about doing that right now. Alright guys, so the first thing that we're going to do is mix and match the textures, as I say. So you want to choose a few textures that are fairly similar to the one that you've got. So we've started with cobblestone. We're going to be using andesite, which again is a similar color, just a slightly different texture. Crackstone brick, again, similar color, but the texture varies a little bit. Polished andesite, again, same type deal. And also for the gravel, again, the same deal. We've got a similar color, but the texture is just slightly different. So what you want to do is just begin with the andesite, for example, and just pop a few pieces in here and there. I mean, you can mix and match, have doubles, that kind of thing, do diagonals. Just make it as random as possible. That's the rule that I usually live by. And then again with the crackstone brick, let's just get a few of these guys in. Something like this will be okay. And then polished andesite. So you just want to kind of go through your list of textures and just add them in sporadically like this. Okay, that looks good. And then finally some gravel. So once you get to the last texture, you might want to think about sort of edging out a few of the areas where you have tons of the original texture. So if I've got a triple section of cobblestone, I might go ahead and knock one piece out and just add some gravel in, just to make sure, you know, there's not too much of one texture in each location on the floor. So now that you've got all of those textures mixed in, you probably want to go and think about some lighting because you don't want mobs spawning in your rooms. So let's move on and, as I say, take a look at that. Now when it comes to lighting up a floor, there are a few ways to do it, and certain ways are hidden, other ways are a bit more out there, a bit more obnoxious. You know, it just depends what design and style and feel that you're going for. So I'll give you a few options here, and we're looking at three different types of glass here. We've got light gray, and black. All 3 of these would work, so you want to pick a glass color that is similar to the floor color. So for this example, I'm going to use light gray just because it works quite well with all of these textures, as you can see. And what you want to do is choose a lamp style. So you can either choose a redstone lamp, which you'll obviously need to light up, or a sea lantern works as well, just depending on your preference, I guess. And what we do is we dig down in a random location on the floor, or you can space these out in your desired format, I guess. You want to dig down 3 blocks, place a torch, place a lamp, and then place a piece of glass. So we can do this, as I say, quite randomly across the floor. So we'll do one here as well. So torch, lamp, and glass. And you just want to make sure that you're lighting up each block adequately so that there are no spawns. And again, we'll have the glass there. So this will probably do for a 7x7, right? You don't need too much light to make sure that this is unspawnable. And as I say, this, you can very clearly notice that we have glass in place. And as you're walking on it, you can also see the lamps as well. So if you want to maybe have something that's a bit more discreet, you can choose a carpet color that is similar to the glass that you've used and similar to the textures that you've used. And you can go ahead and do something like this to cover it up. And again, it doesn't really retract the fact that there are differences in the floor, but it will stop you from seeing the lamps as you move across the floor. So this might be something that you guys want to consider when adding in your lighting. But that's pretty much it, I guess. You could add, I suppose, a few other types of detail, which I'll quickly go over now. But aside from that, your floor is looking roughly complete. And as I say, for one final extra detail that you can add to the floor, if you so desire, you can add a few stairs in just to add a bit of depth and, you know, a bit of extra detail. So what you want to do is grab stairs that represent the blocks that you've chosen and just replace a few of them with the stair blocks, so we can use andesite here as well, or even polished andesite if that's the way you want to go. And I would suggest that you just rotate them kind of randomly, so you've got these little dips in and around your floor area, and it doesn't do too much in terms of changing things up. It just gives you a slight differentiation and makes it, you know, a little bit more interesting to look at. And also a good thing about this is that it will not affect you when you're walking over it. You won't notice that there are any divots or anything, because this half of the block just acts as though it's a full half and you walk straight over the gap. So it's a nice way to add some detail without totally annoying yourself or ruining the floor. So now that we've got this one done, I'm going to give you a couple more examples before we end the video. And then I've got some special additional examples over there from a previous video that I'll show you guys just as a bit of extra inspiration. Okay then guys, let's take a look at these other two examples that I came up with here. So this one is a combination of spruce planks. We've got stripped spruce logs, or these guys right here, so the ones that have bark on all four sides. We've also got these guys, so the regular log stripped, but with the bark at the top is not there. It's just a regular log. I'm not sure how to describe this. The inner tree is exposed, I suppose, and we're making sure that we can see that when we've placed those blocks down, just for a bit of texture differentiation. We've also got some dark oak planks, which look like this, of course. And then finally, some brown concrete, which is a very similar color, but is, you know, it's a more clean texture. It's just very flat and all around quite linear, you know, it doesn't change much. Anyway, aside from that, we've got our lighting. And again, I've covered that with carpet, but you can see that there's a slight difference in this one. So if you want to be a bit cheaper about things, you can always go with a torch, but I would just make sure that if you're using torches, you want to cover it up, because it doesn't look great, does it, just having that torch down there? And then I guess if you don't want to cover it up, just make sure that you do something like this, perhaps. Use some of the textures that you've got around it just to kind of fill in the blanks so that you don't have stone and such exposed down there. And then maybe at the bottom, you could just use something like concrete. And then you want to pop the torch back in, of course. So let's get that guy back in there. Or you could even use a lantern, for example, if that's something else you might want to do. That might look a little bit better just because the lantern texture is a lot nicer and a lot cleaner. And then you want to grab some glass, just replace that guy. And then you can either leave it exposed like this, which doesn't look too bad now that you've added the extra textures in, or again, you can just pop a carpet back over the top to cover it up, and that will still allow light through. So for the final example, I just went ahead and popped some stone around the outside as a kind of a trim, just so that you guys can definitely see what's going on here, because there is a bit of sandstone in the texture. I don't want you guys to get confused between the flatness of this barren world and the texture combination I've came up with. So this one was kind of an example just to show you that you can get away with using textures that are ever so slightly different. As long as you're not overdoing it. You can see here I've used some quartz, whereas the rest of these textures are quite almost like a beige/yellow theme going on, and then you've got the quartz, which stands out a little bit. But as I say, if you don't use it too much and maybe only go with one texture that slightly varies from the rest, you can come up with something pretty cool. And I also didn't go with lighting for this one, because you might not always need to light these floors up. They might be outdoors or something like that, or exposed to enough natural light that means you won't have to hide any lighting underneath, or perhaps you like to put your lighting in the ceiling or on the walls or something like that, you know. Just an example to show you that you don't always need to use the lighting, and that you can in fact use some textures that vary slightly from the rest and still make something that looks rather cool. Before we wrap this video up, guys, I did promise a few extra examples just for some inspiration. So this is from a video that we have posted previously. And as you can see, this one right here at the top left, it follows similar principles to those we used over there. We've got a combination of some stone textures, including the backside of a piston, which I really like the look of. It's like a cobblestone texture with a black trim. So if you can be bothered to go underneath and place all of these upside down, you can really come up with some very nice floor designs using that texture. However, it's probably not that practical unless you've got a lot of time. This one here again uses pistons. But the top side, and I've just mixed them in kind of like a checkerboard pattern with some of the wood types. And then down here, we've got a checkerboard flooring, except we're using the pistons to make small lighting fixtures. So once again, this is a good way to light up floors without making them look ugly. So you can kind of surround the lighting with a different texture and just make it into a type of fixture. And you can see that those are evenly spaced as well, just to make things look nice, symmetrical and neat. And then finally, once again, this floor as a base flooring without the fixtures follows similar principles once again, except as I just mentioned, we've got these nice piston fixtures in that surround the lighting and just make things look incorporated quite nicely. So there's 4 more examples there of floor designs that you might want to use in your base. And as I say, we're going to wrap up the video right now. Alright guys, that is going to be the end of this building tutorial video. I do hope that you enjoyed it and that it's going to be helpful for you. I would suggest implementing these steps in your world if you're lacking creativity at all when it comes to flooring. I mean, it takes a very small amount of time, but it does improve the look of builds quite a bit, in my opinion. So it's very worthwhile. And as I say, end of the video. I do hope you enjoyed it. Take care of yourselves, and I will catch you all in the next one. Bye for now.